to do what I can again here in Los Angeles, because we have not yet arrived at the promised land where there's equal access, equal justice for every man, for every woman, for every boy, and for every girl in this city and in this country. What I see here this evening is our waking up to the fact that we still have a long way to go if we're going to see achieved the benefits of freedom and truth for all of us. So I'm delighted to be here. I am pleased that the International AFL-CIO has designated this day of action across the country. I am delighted to be here with Bill Lucy, Brother Bill Lucy, who I met as a very young man in 1968. Learned to love him as a brother and learned to love his poise and dignity and his passion for the union and his passion that the 1,300 workers in Memphis, Tennessee would achieve a modicum of change in their condition through their strike. So I'm just very glad to be here. Dr. Hunter, this is the most important spot, has been over across decades here in Los Angeles for struggle. And how wonderful it is to see you here and to know that in fact we represent this country. We represent the world. We represent the human race. The governors in our country who are calling for the nation to recover its economy on the backs of workers are, in fact, nothing less than plantation owners and petty tyrants. They remind me of the fact that in the constitutional discussions in the 18th century, here in the United States, George Mason said that every plantation owner is a petty tyrant. Every plantation owner. They remind me that petty tyrants are still among us, still trying to dictate change in this country. We have to say no, no again and again. So I'm pleased to be here. I'm going to try to be very brief. Let me say to you that a little bit about Dr. King and about our work together and our connection together. I met the name of Martin Luther King Jr. on December the 6th, 1955, on the front pages of the papers of Nagpur, India, where I was a missionary as a coach, and physical ed teacher, and campus minister. I was elated to see his name. Since 1947, I hoped that one day we would have nonviolent direct action by hundreds and thousands and tens and millions of people in this country in order to set our nation right from its ancient wrong. Its ancient wrong of taking the land from the Indian. Its ancient wrong of taking half of Mexico from Mexico and Mexicans. It's ancient wrong of saying that women are not equal to men and have the same right, equality, and truth. It's ancient wrong of slavery of people from Africa for 250 years. So for me it was an extraordinary day to meet the name of Martin Luther King Jr. in the first, at least in the last half of the 20th century, the first great direct action struggle in the United States in Montgomery, Alabama. I want to remind you that that's what we must do again in the 21st century. Because every gain that we, the people, have known in the last 100 or 200 years in this country has come from the sacrifice and the suffering and the discipline and the labor of ordinary people like ourselves who forced, by sheer people's power, forced Congress to look at a different agenda, forced General Electric to see that workers are human beings who deserve their wages and their benefits for their work. Every gain in the last 100 years has come because we, the people, have determined that the gains were ours and we were willing to work and organize and fight, yes, go to jail if necessary in order to do it. And what we do tonight must become the heralding of the trumpets across our nation, to the President, to Congress, to the governors. We will not sit back and allow you to strip us of equality, liberty, and justice for all. I shook the hand of Dr. King the first time on February 6, 1957 in Ohio, where I was in graduate school for my theological studies. And we discovered we had a great number of things in common. But most of all, he discovered that I had a passion for nonviolent struggle. And as we talked about these things quietly and privately together, he urged me, as I suggested I would perhaps go south to work, he told me very quietly, "Come now. We need you now. Come as quickly as you can now." So I did drop out of school and moved to Nashville and start working for Dr. King and for others. The last time I saw Martin King, the last time I shook his hand, was on the afternoon of April the 4th, 1968 in Lorraine Hotel. We had had meetings early that morning, and I was in federal court against the injunction that was laid out against us marching in Memphis. And I went back in the afternoon to see him again so that we could talk about the strategy for the march that we were organizing in Memphis and the like. And about 4 o'clock, I left him in the afternoon, saying that we would see each other later that evening. So April the 4th for me is a day of, April the 4th is a day for me of vivid memory. King's assassination